You know him as the director of Soul Surfer, the recent hit biopic Reagan, starring Dennis Quaid. He's also the director and producer of a gripping new World War II drama, the true story of Joseph Bao, a gifted artist and master forger. Bao risked his life to save others, using his talent to create false documents to help fellow prisoners escape certain death. Take a look.
How does this work?
I'm waiting for the sunshine.
Looks like you might have a problem.
Maybe you can be my sunshine. Mama, I met the most wonderful woman for being my sunshine.
Only you yourself would find something like that in a place like this.
I see you. You take care of everybody. But who takes care of you?
Was a long, cold winter.
If we do our work, maybe we can survive this madness and tell our story.
We danced in the rain.
Rebecca Tenenbaum.
If I turn around and I see you,
However long forever is, share it with me.
say,
Here to tell us all about Bao, Artist at War, starring Emile Hirsch. Please welcome Sean McNamara. Sean, thank you for being here. Bao, Artist at War, as I mentioned, it's based on a true story. Tell me how you first discovered or encountered this story, and how did you know it needed to become a film?
Well, I think I saw it like most people the first time when I saw Schindler's List. It was the couple who got married in Schindler's List, and I didn't know this, but 30 years later, I would be handed a script called Bao, Artist at War, and it turns out it's the story of that couple who got married in Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. And I read this incredible script, and what was crazy, it was funny. The lead character, Joseph Bao, was joking throughout it, and I was like, this is really good, and I recognized these characters, and then it dawned on me that it was from Schindler's List. And it just turned out great. And I went to Tel Aviv and met Joseph Bao's daughters, and they gave me his book, Dear God, Have You Ever Gone Hungry? And there were these drawings that he did while he was in Plaszow concentration camp that were just jumping off the page. They were just incredible. And he's a real artist. I mean, he just has oil paintings, watercolors, and beautiful stuff. But when I saw he's an artist and he was a forger and all the things he did, I just thought it. And the biggest thing about this thing is it's a love story. He secretly met his wife Rebecca there, and well, they weren't married at first, but they fell in love and got married, and it was all kept a secret from all of the guards.
Yeah, no, it really does focus on that relationship particularly. What's the message here for audiences when there is so much that divides people, Sean, isolates people, perhaps now more than ever? There is a crossover here between this World War II story and what we're seeing today in society.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when we made it 2 years ago, I wasn't thinking about that. I was making a tale. I thought of an event that happened 80 years ago, and we have to tell the story to remind people. And then, of course, October 7th hit, and then there's where the state of the world is now. And the world needs to see this movie now to see what can go wrong if it's pushed to the extreme. But the biggest thing is, like, does someone want to go see a Holocaust movie? And I say yes, because it is more comical. I made it PG-13 instead of R, because I wanted more people to see it and to see what can happen with Joseph Bao being a jokester. He would have been like a modern day Robin Williams, would just joke at the most inappropriate times. And what I found from research with survivors is when they could laugh, they could find joy. And if I wanted anybody to walk away with the message of this is, if you can find in your darkest times joy and laughter, miracles do happen.
Yeah, I want to give people a taste of what they'll be seeing. Here's a clip of Bao, Artist at War.
Rebecca Tenenbaum. However long forever is, share it with me.
think you're a crazy person.
Warn me if that ever changes. I'm afraid it's going to be a very short engagement. In fact, I've already sent out invitations.
Such a sweet scene about the power of love, even in the darkest times. I mean, this really is the heart of the film, this love story between Joseph and Rebecca. And I know Bao is a spy thriller, and it's got a lot of the things that move it along. But at its heart, it's a love story. Tell me about that relationship between Joseph and Rebecca here.
Well, like everyone, they were in the ghetto, and then they were pushed into the Plaszow barracks outside of Krakow. And they were separated in the day and the night. They had different barracks for the men and different for the women. Mm-hmm. And because Joseph was a map maker, they would let him into the other parts of the barracks so that he could draw maps for the commandant and all the soldiers there. And that's when he had a mission. They said, you have to finish 3 maps by tonight. And he goes, that's impossible. The sun's not out. And they said, well, do it or we're going to end your life, basically. And so he went out just hoping for the sun to come, and she walked up and he called her, would you be my sunshine? And that started the romance. Those were the first words to her. And somehow the sun did come out, and it dried his plans that he could show the soldiers. And they lived, and then they carried on a secret love affair, and then got married in the barracks.
Unbelievable. You've assembled an amazing cast here, led by Emile Hirsch. And Emile said recently that he was impressed by the optimism of Joseph Bao, the optimism he had in the face of such terrible evil. What was it like making this film, particularly a film with, these are heavy themes, Sean?
Well, absolutely. They are heavy things, but I think this is exactly what Joseph would have wanted us to do. He wanted to lighten it up because, look, we're here, we're in this horrible place. Let's joke about it, because if we can just laugh a little bit, it changes your brain chemistry. It makes you happier. And like I said, the survivors found if they could find something to live for, something to laugh for, some sense of joy, those were the ones that survived. And they're 100 years old right now, 101 years old. And they were saying that's what did it. If they could find any humor, it made such a difference. And Joseph, besides saving over 1,100 lives, which then their families went on and on in his own family, it was that sense of joking and that he kept people alive with his point of view of life.
Sean, you're a filmmaker in Hollywood and a Catholic. You've made faith-based films as well as secular ones. Faith in film used to be quite commonplace. It was sort of integrated into the characters' lives. Tell me how your faith has directed the way you approach filmmaking, as well as characters.
Well, again, like you, I grew up on movies that had faith in the movies. Nobody ever talked about it. It was just part of it. It wasn't a big deal. And then Hollywood kind of swayed away from that. And then Hollywood, like in the early 2000s, came back and said, we're going to make faith-based movies. Mm-hmm. And so, and then that kind of turned some people off because they don't want to be hammered over the head by it. So I try to find it organically. And with my own faith, I mean, look, I believe in Jesus. I'm a Catholic. I went to 16 years of Catholic school. Making films about my faith and about other people's faith is how I connect to God and help other people. When I was young, I used to read Chicken Soup for the Soul. That was like what got me going or inspired. And I want to inspire other people to follow their faith by looking at a movie of characters who go through, really tough times and come out the other side. And hopefully I want to make people laugh. I want to make them cry. I want to make them mad. But at the end of the day, I want them to be filled with joy and to know that there's miracles everywhere. You just have to look for them. You can look for the bad things. That's easy. But this movie is about miracles.
You had a big hit last year with the Ronald Reagan movie, Reagan, with Dennis Quaid. In fact, you started in the business doing audio for Ronald Reagan 40 years ago. And 40 years later, you directed a movie about him. What do you look for in stories and the stories you believe could make great films?
Well, that's very interesting. yes, my buddy's dad directed the Academy Awards. I kept trying to get a meeting with him. They'd never get me a meeting. And then one day they did get me a meeting. And the first thing Marty Pacetta asked me, who was the director of the Academy Awards, "Kid, what do you want to do?" And I was like dumbfounded. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't think to come in with an idea. I thought, oh, you just get a job. And I said, well, I'm in a band. I plug in microphones. And he goes, audio, that's for you. And the next thing I know, a black limo shows up at my house. I get on an airplane and I'm plugging in microphones for Ronald Reagan's inauguration in 1981.
Wow.
So since then, I look for movies that inspire me. For me, it was Rocky. I found myself the day after I saw Rocky jogging down the street. I didn't want to be a fighter, but I just wanted to do something. I was inspired to do something. And if I can inspire people now with my movies, and to know that anything is possible. If you look at Soul Surfer or Reagan, I mean, he was knocked down. I mean, he was out for the count. He was governor of California. Then he ran for president. He lost. And then he came back again and he won. That was another miracle. That was a 1 billion to 1 shot that happened. And but if you put your mind to it, and you pray, miracles do happen, in my opinion.
I'll say. And Bao, Artist at War, directed by Sean McNamara, starring Emile Hirsch, is its own miracle. It hits theaters Friday, September 26th. For showtimes and tickets in your area, check your local listings or visit baomovie.com. Sean McNamara, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.